The internet stopped working when news came out that Malcolm-Jamal Warner had died. Some people didn't believe it. Fans had grown up watching the same face on The Cosby Show as Theo Huxtable. That man was no longer there. What broke my heart even more was how the news came about. News reports said Malcolm drowned while trying to save his 8-year-old daughter from an awful diving accident. That time when he gave his life for her was both brave and sad. Fans all over the world were shocked. A lot of sad memories, old interview clips, and old scenes from the show were shared on social media. It was a wave of digital sadness that was honest, real, and full of love. It was still hard for everyone to understand what was going on, but then something strange happened. Mike Epps, a comedian known for being outspoken and making people laugh, wrote something on Instagram that totally changed the mood. It was meant to be a tribute. That's how it looked, at least. A picture that had been edited showed Malcolm happy in the clouds with two other famous people, Hulk Hogan and Ozzy Osbourne. It said, "Bless them in the spirit," under the picture. At first look, some people might have thought it was cute or not dangerous, but the internet went crazy very quickly. Fans were first confused and then mad. The reaction began so quickly that you won't believe it. A lot of people told Mike to delete the post in the comments. One message stuck out: "Delete this, we only mourn Malcolm." There were thousands of angry people, not just a few. People shared the picture again and said it was rude and tone-deaf. The bigger questions then came up. Why did Hulk Hogan show up in the event? What did Malcolm have to do with Ozzy Osbourne? And now for the crazy part, Ozzy wasn't even dead. Now what seemed like a spiritual goodbye turned into something strange and even surreal. Now things start to get interesting. Someone started to list all the things that were wrong with the post. To begin, the time. It was still new that Malcolm had died. People were in pain. It felt wrong to post a strange and confusing picture during that time of sadness. The more important thing was who Mike decided to include. Just hearing the name Hulk Hogan caused years of trouble. People hadn't forgotten the racist things he said on a recording that got out, like using the N-word and being mean about his daughter dating a black guy. It was bad for his job and reputation, especially among black people. Putting Malcolm's face next to his was like getting hit in the face. The way this story made me feel was what set it apart. Malcolm was more than just famous. Fans felt like they knew him well. They had seen him grow up on TV, from a young teen star to a well-respected man who chose family over fame and kept his life simple. People were very sad when he died trying to save his daughter. They didn't want his memory to be linked to anything bad, messy, or unclear. Mike's post stopped being seen as an honor all of a sudden. It seemed like a joke, wrapped up in bad sense. The internet didn't hold back, let me tell you. On all of them, people called out Mike Epps. They said he used Malcolm's death to get attention, go viral, and stay important. Cloud chase was one name for it. Some people said it was lazy to just put names and faces together without thinking about what they meant. One fan wrote, "This isn't love. This is some show." People were angry, hurt, and unable to believe what they were reading in the comments. Mike Epps didn't answer, though. The post wasn't taken down. He didn't say why. He didn't say anything at all. Mike Epps didn't say anything, so the criticism got worse. Fans were now taking screenshots of his posts and asking the same question on X, TikTok, and Facebook. What did he think? Some people even thought he might have been joking. The debate became more serious after that. It was no longer just about... Now, people weren't just lost, they were mad. After that, the comparisons began. Users started to look for more references to famous people. Some were done with great care and purpose, while others had also been criticized. But this one felt different. We felt it all the way this time. The time was wrong, and the names that were put next to Malcolm were also wrong. What was with Hulk Hogan? Fans kept asking. Why chose Ozzy Osbourne? One fan even said, "You put a man we love next to someone who freely used the N-word and someone who is still alive. What kind of honor is this?" People were so angry that it didn't go away in a day. It kept getting worse. It was worse because Malcolm had always cared about what he did with his life. He stayed out of problems. He didn't try to make the news. He didn't post crazy things just to be seen. People knew him for his quiet respect and the fact that he chose to live a more private life. Now that a post went viral and threw his name into chaos, fans felt like his reputation was being changed. They did not want chaos for him. They wanted peace. His face being shown next to people he didn't know made this picture moving around the internet feel like chaos, not peace. However, this is what shocks me. Now, it wasn't just fans who were upset. Some of Malcolm's old co-stars also began to speak out. There were quiet posts and tweets, but they all said the same thing. They were disappointed. They didn't say Mike Epps' name, but it was clear when it happened. "We honor with love, not misunderstanding," was all that one post said. Someone else wrote, let our brother rest in peace." These were the opinions of people who had worked closely with Malcolm and knew what he stood for. They were hurt too. It was clear from what they didn't say. Mike Epps didn't give up, though. No message and no apologies. The try Butte picture stayed on his page. For many, the quiet said more than any words could. At this point, things became even more personal when people on the internet started talking about Mike's past problems, things he said on stage or online in the past that made people mad, old posts, and past events. People were starting to wonder about his trend. Was this really just a mistake that happened once, or was it just one example of a man who crossed lines all the time and never looked back? The memorial service that was meant to honor Malcolm's life was now the center of a heated argument about duty, respect, and timing. There was a lot of pain that wouldn't go away, and fans felt like they had to protect Malcolm's legacy from a tribute that should have done that already. Things became more and more like a storm that wouldn't stop as more people joined the chat. What began as a farewell post turned into one of the biggest online scandals about the death of a celebrity. It wasn't right on time, the picture didn't look right, and Mike Epps' silence made things worse. This is where the story got even more sad. For friends of Malcolm-Jamal Warner, this wasn't just about a picture, it was about how people treat each other, especially after such a terrible loss. People began to share their own stories. One person wrote, "I watched Malcolm on TV when I was a kid. He was a big part of my life. I cried like I had lost a cousin when I heard he died protecting his daughter." Others said that his calm presence on screen helped them get through tough times in their own lives. It became more and more clear that Malcolm wasn't just an actress as the fans talked. He was like family to many. After that, his family did everything they could to protect his memory. Now, things get interesting because the argument is no longer just about Mike Epps. It's about Black IC, ON's public honors, and how important context is. Many fans started to say that Black men like Malcolm, who didn't get involved in fights, did their work quietly, raised their kids, and lived with heights. Their stories got lost in the noise, mixed up with people or themes that didn't fit with who they were. In the end, what people fought for was a memorial that felt like Malcolm. I can tell you that people weren't just mad at Mike. They were really hurt because you want the right story to be told about someone you admire who has died. You want the last picture of them online to show who they really were. Not a badly written post with makeshift names and faces. This is not a careless description. There isn't a single joke-like moment. One post said, "Let him rest with grace." Mike, this isn't it. But now comes the crazy part. Mike didn't say anything, even though the reaction kept getting worse. Not even a word to make it clear what he meant. Not a single change to fix or delete the post. People thought he wasn't listening because he wasn't talking. And when it comes to social media, silence says a lot. It looked like Mike didn't care the longer he kept quiet, and that made the fire worse. Then the changes that went viral. Fans started making their own remembrance pictures of Malcolm, some of which were very nice and showed him by himself or with people he had worked with. They added quotes from interviews where he talked about wanting to have a reason in life, care for his daughter, and be a father. The tributes made by fans slowly took over the talk, making Mike's post less important. The fans kind of took charge of the story. They told the story the right way without waiting for someone to say sorry. But there was still stress because even though the fans were happy, the pain of the first post stayed in the background like a scar. It was hard for people to forget how quickly a sad time turned into an online show. It left a bad taste that not even the nicest honors could fully wash away. The trouble didn't go away as the days went by. It got worse over time. More than just a bad memorial was being talked about. What it meant, the silence that followed, and how it affected a community were all things they talked about, still in grief. What people said under Mike Epps' post turned into a war zone of different points of view.